Hello and welcome to a very overdue Plastic Skulls video. In today's video we're going to be converting or kit bashing, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be making a diorama out of the Rogal Dorn Tank that's also playable on the tabletop. There's 6 parts to this video. In the first I'm just going to go over 3 tips that I think make the tank more usable on the battlefield. In the second we're going to look at the commander on top of the tank sitting on the sandbags surveying the battlefield. The third also helps make the tank more playable, as the heavy bolters can be switched out quite easily. It also adds a hinge to the hatch on top of the turret. Then we're going to look at widening a dozer blade to accommodate the tank, the platform on the back of the tank with the guy refilling from a jerry can, and finally we're going to look at the field ordnance weapon that the tank is towing. This can easily be removed for games, but just adds a bit to the tank when it's in your display case. Now, before I go any further, I've got to address the elephant in the room. No one could do a Rogal Dorn video without mentioning the bottom of this tank. GW doesn't want me to show you this. There's a lot of controversy surrounding it, so let's just get this over and done with. I did carry out a poll quite a while back now, asking about what sort of videos that you guys wanted to see. So I have taken this into account. It does seem that you guys like the longer videos, which is why I've made this one and why it took so long to make. Well, there was another reason. The other reason was that I got halfway through making it and my laptop decided to die. So I had to start again, and I've actually made this on a borrowed laptop. Any feedback is welcome, so feel free to leave any in the comments, positive or negative. I'd like to mention one of the partners of Plastic Skulls, TabletopStar, which is a website designed for finding opponents for your games or trading your models. So finally, before we get into the video, I'd like to mention that Plastic Skulls does have a Patreon page, so if you do enjoy the videos and you'd like to support the channel, just check out the link in the description below. So let's get into it. So apart from the tank, all the bits that I've used are shown on the screen here. I've included all the numbered bits where possible, but obviously the older kits like the Hydra and the old troop kit don't have these. You can also buy these bits on eBay, so you don't need to buy the whole kits if you just need 1 or 2 bits. They're relatively cheap, but a lot of this stuff will probably be in your bits box anyway if you collect guard. This isn't the only bits page that I'll be showing all the bits required for each part of the video. So my first tip, to save magnetising the front weapons, it's either the heavy stubbers or the melters you can swap out. I instead used an interference fit, and I did this by cutting the weapon part crudely from the sprue, so it actually leaves a bit of excess sprue on the part, so that when it fits into the gap it creates an interference fit and holds it in place rather than sometimes falling out. It's just something that I've used in the past and I found was really useful with this tank, so you don't need to magnetise these weapons, which would be really fiddly. The next really is down to personal preference. I'm not a big fan of the way they make these cannons adjustable and vertical. In reality it just makes them look a bit limp. So what I've done here is just glue this bit in place so it's fixed. Once you've applied the glue, work it between the 2 parts by moving the turret up and down. I've also magnetised this turret, and the Rogal Dorn main turret is quite simple to magnetise. You just need the right size drill bit and the magnets to go with it, and you simply stick the magnet into the actual turret of the tank and the other into the back of the cannon. Just make sure you've got the magnets the right way around. This again makes the tank so much more playable and future proof. So next we're taking a look at the tank commander on the turret. What makes this guy look at ease is the arm and the leg bits from the field ordnance kits, and I've also used a lot of sandbags from the combat patrol kit. I think this makes the tank look a lot more lived in. So first we need to make room for the sandbags, and I'm just going to cut this mounting point off from the turret. It doesn't need to be of a particularly tidy job because we're going to cover it all with the sandbags. Here I'm using the legs and the torso from the gunner from the field ordnance kit and gluing these together as you normally would. The hatch from the turret needs to be glued in the open position so it looks like the guy is resting his arm on the hatch. It's worth spending some time here fiddling around with the position so it looks as natural as possible. The arm of the binoculars was just about the right length to make it look like he was resting them on his knee. This guy's foot didn't really look that natural and didn't look like it was resting on anything, so I added an extra sandbag to sort this out. So here I've added a hinge to the turret hatch so you can open and close it, and I've also made something that can be dropped in which holds the heavy bolters. You can make another one of these for the multi-melters so you can quickly swap between the weapons or have none of them at all, but I prefer the look of this tank without the side sponsons, so I decided to do it this way and still have the flexibility of using the side sponson weapons. So here you want to carefully hack out the exhausts, so you just have the exhaust housing and the back plate or whatever it's called at the back, and this is where the heavy bolters will go. So now we're going to add the heavy bolters, but just a quick observation here first. Have you noticed how small the heavy bolters have been getting over the years? To the left is one from the original Lehman Russ, to the right is the newer kit, and finally on the far right we have the Rogal Dorn heavy bolter with an old bolt gun underneath. They're about the same size now. Not a criticism, just an observation. So now I'm going to drill out the hatch to allow for the hinge. I'm just marking it here because I need to be quite precise on where I drill this. With the hatch in place on the corresponding attachment bit and the turret, I can then drill through this bit. Here I'm using the Catachan Vox for the pin of the hinge, but the Cadian Vox will work just as well. With the pin trimmed down and in place, I add a bit of glue to each end, but not in the middle because this would stop it from opening. So now we move on to the guy refueling at the back of the tank with a jerry can. Now the platform used here comes from the Hydra kit, and this is quite simple to stick on, but the pipe that is coming from the jerry can will be quite fiddly to work into the right position, and we're going to be using a candle just to soften the plastic so that it can be bent into the proper position. Here I'm cutting out the handle on the jerry can to make space for the hand. I forgot to film this bit, but I've actually drilled out the handle of the gun, which was on the arm bit, and this actually worked quite well, as part of the handle from the jerry can that was remaining would fit quite nicely into this gap with a bit of trimming. It'll be worth fiddling around with the arms when you're gluing them together so that they fit naturally around the jerry can. This may mean that some of the arm parts may not glue quite right to the torso, as has happened in my case. So what I've done is just add a bit of green stuff to fill in the gaps. As you can see, the pipe that we've taken from the flamer doesn't fit quite right, so we're going to be using a candle to soften the plastic so that we can bend it to fit to shape. So now we want this petrol cap to look like it's open. So we're going to be drilling through and filing out the hole, and then actually adding a bit of sprue, a bit of scrap sprue, one of the circular knobbly bits, as the actual cap. And then we're going to glue this so it looks like it's open. So this isn't a very good camera angle, but what you can't see here is that I'm trimming down the fuel cap so that it's easier to drill and file. After putting these two pieces together, I still didn't think that the fuel pipe really sat that well on the model, so I decided to get the matches and the candle back out and have another go at shaping the pipe. I got a bit too close to the flame this time and melted the pipe a bit too much, but I've got some sprue goo which I use to fill in the gap which I created by melting it a bit too much. Sprue goo is just basically, well, my sprue goo is some old glue with lots of sprues in it, and this just creates a melted solution of sprue goo, and then you can apply this to your model to fill in gaps or do other sorts of modelling. So now we have the dozer blade part. Now this is quite a simple part because we're just gluing two dozer blades together to make a wider one. So I'm just going to let you enjoy the music for this one. And if you like weathering your tanks and adding a lot of dirt like I do, then you don't have to be too tidy with this part because you can just cover it in mud. finally we move on to the field ordnance weapon that's being towed behind this tank. Now this part is quite simple as well, because we're just creating a tow bar at the back of the tank, and we're putting together the field ordnance weapon, but without obviously gluing it to the base, and gluing it at the points of articulation, so that when it closes together you get this towing eye which will attach over the towing bar. Unfortunately, this part won't close properly together, so you will have to shave down some of the footrest. So the only thing left to do is to show you a few photos of the model and a shot on the spinny thing. If you're around for the games day, well, it's not called games day anymore, but whatever it's called now. If you're around for that, then, and you see me there, give me a tap on the shoulder, say hello. If I've got any Plastic Skulls t-shirts, you can have one for free. I'll be wearing one with the Plastic Skulls logo on. That's it for this one, guys. If you've got any suggestions for future videos, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.